Chapter 2, Step 2, Applying Wisdom. What you don't know can hurt you. And again, I am reading through the manuscript of What Works When Diets Don't. What Works When Diets Don't. I'm adding some things, a lot of things that aren't actually in the book. And then the book does have some things that I'm not talking about here because it goes into more redundancy and things I've already talked about. So you can download this book, What Works When Diets Don't, for free at the church website, Westside Christian Fellowship.org. But let's talk about this very important topic, applying wisdom. What you don't know can hurt you. But let's just start here. After, I explained this before, after years of dieting, I became frustrated and I almost gave up on fitness altogether. After all, who wants to exercise daily, follow a special diet, and sacrifice time for nothing? We want immediate results, but when the results take longer than what we had planned, we become frustrated and eventually give up. A key element of education is knowing what to expect. This is huge because if people understand, okay, because we all have these ideas. Okay, I need to lose 20 pounds. And this is going to take me 2 months. And when 2 months get here, you're down 5. It can get really frustrating. And remember, people succeed at weight loss when they stop dieting and start focusing on changing their lifestyle, stepping outside their comfort zone and be willing to fail, but also willing to change their lifestyle. So, if I look at it as a lifestyle, it's, for example, I'm going out to eat today. It's supposedly it's kind of a healthy place with some friends. But it's not, if you look at the seed oils in the salad dressing, and also the tons of sugar in the salad dressing, the type of sugar, and then the partially hydrogenated oils. And then also the meat is not clean. It's not organic. So I'll probably bring my own meat and a little thing with some salad dressing, olives, maybe some, fermented cabbage, and then I'll just dump it on the huge salad I buy there. And then I can just be with everyone. And so just the little things like that. And people, oh, that's a little extreme. And yeah, maybe, but see, if I don't do that, then I'm trying to get, off of the refined oils just for inflammation purposes. And then I mess up here. Might as well have some pizza tonight at the potluck. I might as well get some chocolate too. And then tomorrow, we've got this function. I might as well have some of these, half a bag of chips. And then later we're at the park on Friday, might as well grill some hot dogs. And then see, it's never ending. So at some point you have to say, okay, I'm going to really approach this differently. I'm going to be strategic and how I do things. And then you can even get, there's some healthy hot dog versions out there. Grill a hot dog, don't eat the bun, and just, a little bit of mustard and some salad and some fruit. There's ways to work around this. And actually, when you first start, it's a little daunting and, maybe some people are worried about what people think. But once you're into it, months into it, it's like a habit. It doesn't bother me. It's just, you really reprogram your mind. And now you're running on these habits because you got rid of these bad habits. So all these bad habits they are ingrained patterns of behavior based on your lifestyle. So once you begin to change those, now you've got these good patterns. You're wanting to get up and exercise in God's word, praying, putting him first, eating better, feeling better, getting your kids eating better. And there's nothing more rewarding than a parent to see their kids to start to eat better and sleep better. And guys, we got to do some serious house cleaning on this. And don't it's more expensive. Yeah, you can find the money. For most people, they can find the money because you're spending $300 at Starbucks. You're buying all this stuff you don't really need. Your Target, your Amazon's coming to your front door every other day. We can find the resource if we need to and be strategic. Just have the kids eat the whole foods like I'm talking about. You'll see a huge difference. So anyway, let me talk about this for a minute. In fact, successful people fail more than unsuccessful people. Did you know that? Successful people have failed just as much as unsuccessful people, but the difference is they get back up and they keep moving forward. Be willing to learn from your mistakes. Be willing to get back up, even if you have a bad meal. In the last 6 months, I've probably had, 20 bad meals, maybe some ice cream and things that probably most people wouldn't want. But I just get back up and keep falling forward. After all, you'll miss 100% of the shots you do not take. Think about that. You'll miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So stop dieting and start focusing on gradual, healthy lifestyle changes, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one goal at a time. So let me give you a case in point about this topic, or on this topic. Randy, who was misinformed. Let's talk about him for a minute. Wisdom, also defined as using good judgment, was lacking for Randy. Randy was a middle-aged male who wanted to lose 40 pounds. This is very typical. He used the treadmill faithfully 5 times a week, but after 2 months, he had not lost any weight. Curious, I asked him how his exercise program was going. Now remember, I saw thousands, yes, tens of thousands over the 8 years I was with 24-Hour Fitness and talked to that many people. And so I saw, all from the steroid abuse to the types of diets, to who really got good results, who didn't, and why. And that's what we're talking about. But he was, working out, and I saw him on the exercise, treadmill all the time, and he was just looked the same. And he was discouraged because he hadn't lost any weight. And I asked him about his routine, and he said that he heard that, cardiovascular, it's called cardiopulmonary training, and avoiding fatty foods could help him lose weight. He only had partial knowledge. As a result, his diet was extremely high in carbohydrates, not good. So insulin's going to be high. Remember, insulin is the fat storage hormone. Again, it does more. There's more to it, but that's, in a nutshell, your insulin tells your body to store. It can even slow down the metabolic signals, and it's kind of hard to. I've saw videos on it, but how the cell can kind of slow down the mitochondria, the mechanism, the ATP, and the energy. It can slow down. The body needs to slow down energy. Let's say you're driving. You're not going to drive 100 miles an hour if you're low on gas. You're going to putt around. So insulin will slow down the metabolism, which is not good. However, on that note, just so some of you feel better about this, we always hear a slow metabolism is bad. It's harder with weight loss, but actually a slow metabolism is good for longevity. They're finding that even like a hummingbird has to find the nectar every couple hours or it will die. I think it's the fastest metabolism of any bird, possibly animal. I don't know. Let's research that. But so a slow metabolism for the long haul, for longevity, for long-term health is actually better. Think of a high-strung engine like NASCAR. It's breaking down a lot versus that Honda that just keeps going. So a slow metabolism is actually good for health, but makes it challenging for weight loss. And so he had extremely high carbohydrates because he was told that fat is bad. That was back when I was in the fitness industry. I remember that. And you had all these fat-free cookies, fat-free. And looking back, I'm like, man, what a mistake, because fat satisfies you as well. Fat is very satisfying, and it's good. God created polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, saturated fats in certain different ratios. Cholesterol is actually so good for the body in many ways. And we see that especially if you get into MCT oils, you get into avocado. I mean, it's just really good for you. And so he probably had high insulin, which is going to store his body fat. He's hungry a lot. And he was eating very low fat, like I said. Now, although the treadmill improved his cardiovascular health, it was not contributing to the fat loss because he was consuming more calories than he was burning, and he was eating the wrong type of food. So not only was he consuming probably too much, but the food he was consuming shifted his hormones in such a way with the insulin, right? Glucagon, insulin, in such a way that it was actually working against him. And that can be really frustrating. So I recommended he lower his carbohydrate intake substantially, and the right type of carbohydrates. Like if he's having, hey, I've got some pasta and I've got some, Wonder Bread and I've got this white rice, and I get rid of all that. And, I would switch it out with a small yam. I would switch it out with some organic quinoa that is high in fiber and a whole food, and see high fiber content, and even a little bit of fat, of course, in that mixed in with some oil, slows down the absorption rate of the sugar and the spike in the blood sugar levels. You've heard of the glycemic index. It became popular way back then, and that's why. And they do spike and so when the blood sugar spiked, insulin is spiked, and that's what we want to avoid. So I dropped his carbohydrates way down. Also, he was eating too much. So we went from 3,000 calories a day to around 2,500. And you got to be kind of meticulous, because grabbing some nuts, drinking some apple juice, you'll eat more calories than you think. Trust me, been there, done that. I have the t-shirt. And we also increase his protein intake quite a bit, I think around 30%. And then we add a resistance training, which is programmed. Which was actually good for him because the muscle, because he hadn't been doing that much, he thought cardiovascular was for fat loss. The muscle began to develop very quickly. And that's the good news for some of you who haven't done this much before, is your muscle will respond fairly quickly. And so now he's putting on, let's say, even a couple pounds of muscle. That muscle, now that density in his body, he can burn more calories. Muscle is great for shedding excessive fat as well. So the resistance training, that along with, I increased with his cardio. I had him walk up a grade versus a level, a setting. And so we switched up basically what we did is we increased intensity of the cardio. And within a month, he had dropped 8 pounds and was well on his way to reaching his goal. Looking back, I would have also suggested intermittent fasting. It works wonders, but back in the 1990s, many of us thought that fasting was bad. We now know more later, and I'll talk about that later. So again, Randy's information was only partially correct. So we have to make sure, wisdom, what we don't know can hurt us. Weight loss, just stick to the facts. And throughout the years, many incorrect theories have surfaced around weight loss. Theories are only that. They are theories. So stick to the facts, stick to proper education. And I look to God's word. So what diet is best? Well, what does God's word say about milk and dairy and honey and curds and berries and nuts and even like Ezekiel type bread, whole grain, sprouted, tons of vegetables. The Bible is very clear. And then when I focus on that, I don't really get caught up in the diet debates. Now I might switch mine around a little bit. Like if I'm like, man, let's say I do have, again, if you have high cholesterol, all the, what do they call those, centenarians, right? They live to be over 100. If you do some research, all of them had high cholesterol, every single one of them. So it's not necessarily that sometimes. I think it's the low density lipoproteins are taking the cholesterol to the arteries to repair the damage that I think a lot of the processed foods and the junk we're consuming are doing. And so the cholesterol gets blamed as the bad guy. But for those who want to watch it, I know you be careful with cholesterol. I know a lot of cardiologists won't agree with me, but there's a lot of cardiologists who will. I would be more, I wouldn't worry as much about cholesterol as I would God-given healthy food and getting enough phytochemicals in through my plant-based type of program. So for me, I'd love to have the plants be the majority of the menu. But there's no, quick fix. As hard as the diet industry might try, there's no reinventing the wheel. What worked thousands of years ago still works today. The problem is today we're not forced to walk. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go to my in-laws. Let's get ready. Okay, we'll be there in about 2 hours because we got to walk. Now we'll be there in 2 minutes because we just hop in the car and then we go into their house and we sit on the couch and we watch TV. I mean, we've got to really restructure, a lot of that. But just some interesting facts. The United States consumes more sugar than any other country in the world. Routinely, one American will consume approximately 272 calories a day in added sugar a day. And I think that's even increased more. I mean, these could be some old numbers. I thought it was something like 50, teaspoons now compared to 6 teaspoons back in the, late 1800s. But we're eating about 57, 60 pounds of sugar a year. And the average American consumes, 40 gallons of soft drinks a year. You should go to Costco and look at what 40 gallons looks like. You've seen a 55-gallon drum. Well, some people are consuming that and more within a year. And it's tons of sugar. No wonder why we're seeing record levels of health-related illnesses. Be careful with those energy drinks too. I'm not a fan of energy drinks. Too much caffeine, too much sugar. Even if they say sugar-free, are they using aspartame? And it's just not good. You got to be careful. Again, we're consuming so much sugar and processed foods, and we are less active, and that spells disaster. One can find thousands of types of diets doing a simple internet search, yet the nation's rate of obesity continues to increase. So obviously, short-term diets do not work. The United States reports more health-related illnesses caused by being overweight than any other nation in the world. You see, our blessing, abundance, has become our curse, addiction. And that is why we have to make some serious changes. The majority of people who die, the diet actually, it's funny, I saw that. The majority of people who diet regain a lot. I mean, I would say, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's got to be 7, 8 out of 10, because you've got to keep it going. You got to keep the regimen going, the lifestyle. Even if you blow it, even if you fall, gain some weight, okay, you get back on track. And they regain a lot of they actually regain the lost weight and more, and they begin to suffer, disease, cardiovascular disease, and stroke, and diabetes, and what people call the 4 horsemen. With what I just mentioned, along with Alzheimer's and of course type 2 diabetes and all these different things. The CDC, I remember when they reported, when I was writing this book, the 4 key lifestyle risks. Poor nutrition, lack of physical activity. Back then it was tobacco, can still be excessive alcohol for sure. And 6 out of 10 adults have a chronic disease. Our bodies were designed to digest and assimilate God-given food, not food made in a factory. Think about that. Factory food. If I have a box of Captain Crunch and a carrot, this carrot is going to give me life. Enzymes, which are so important for digestion, vitamins and minerals, key vitamins and minerals, the fiber, the phytochemicals, or even on an apple, the pectin. This is life-giving. This processed food gives no life. I'm surprised we can even live off processed foods, because if you look at the the micronutrients are the things that, the vitamins and minerals, everything I just talked about. It's so depleted that your body must be pulling from other sources to get it, your bone and maybe some of your other tissues. Carbohydrates, fat, and protein in the correct forms play a role in optimal performance, which we've been talking about. Without question, knowledge concerning long-term weight loss is based on facts, not fiction. If you've read any weight loss books before, you're probably familiar with some of the contradictions. They say, eat whatever food you want, versus you can't consume whatever food you want. Consume carbohydrates as much as you want, versus don't consume carbohydrates. Eat fat and plenty of it, versus don't eat fat. Count calories, don't count calories. You don't need to exercise to lose weight, versus you need to exercise to lose weight. So the list could go on and on. Who and what should we believe? And actually, you can keep it very simple. Again, looking to the Bible as our resource. What types of foods are in the Bible that God recommend? The Bible talks about moderation. Let your moderation be known to all men. Moderation. They moved a lot. They were active, so this active lifestyle, consuming God-given foods in moderation, it's going to lead to success. There's just no way around it. So who and what you believe is vitally important. For example, what a lot of people don't know about sugar and processed foods is the detrimental effect they have on the body. Look into it. You will be shocked. And we refer now to being dangerously overweight as 20% above ideal weight. This can lead to a substantial increase in health-related risk. Obesity has more than tripled. We might be hitting quadrupled now since the 1950s. Look at pictures in the 1950s, and you can see that things have really blown. Not blown, but have went completely out of control. What about type 2 diabetes? It has increased astronomically in the last 60 years, and it's the leading cause of blindness. And even if your eyesight's failing, you'd be amazed at what a good diet might do to help offset that. Cancer now affects 1 in 2 women, 1 in 3 men. We go down the list of smoking, abdominal obesity, high cholesterol, and stress are some of the leading causes of heart attacks. And I put high cholesterol back then, but I would actually, I would have to think that through a little bit more. Smoking, abdominal obesity, and if the high cholesterol is causing plaque in the arteries because we're damaging it through processed foods, I would totally agree with that. And the sedentary lifestyle, all these risk factors are something that you can control. Did you catch that? All of these risk factors, for the most part, I would say the vast majority of diseases out there are diet and lifestyle related. So you can change your diet and your lifestyle, and you can offset disease. I mean, I think the numbers would be just mind-blowing, what we could actually do if we put a little bit of effort into it. So let me just get through this section real quick. How much is too much? For example, how much food is too much? Or how much of this is too much? And that's where you're going to have to take it to the Lord. You're going to have to ask him, Lord, am I eating because I want to or I need to? How can I use this more wisdom in my life? Can I be more active? What type of structure is best for me, Lord? What type of plan? I think you just have peace. But also what I do, a lot of times, I don't feel the Lord's leading me in any direction. I step out in faith, and we do what we know to be right. We know what is right. God-given food in moderation. Fasting is biblical. Saying no to king's stomach. Maybe stop eating after 5. Just have some water, some tea ready for when that hunger comes. Because when that hunger comes, it's hard. But hunger, it'll diminish within 5 minutes or so. Now there's ketones you could buy at the store. These little things, but they're expensive. $5 almost for each little shot. And those can definitely help curb hunger. I mean, there's a lot of little tricks to that we're going to get into as we progress even further.